create waste to recycle it, to save energy in our homes. There's lots of things we can do, from loft installation to better heating controls. There's lots of free advice available. There's grants available. We should be buying green electricity from renewable sources. We can learn to be less dependent on the car by using public transport more. I use public transport a lot, and I think it's great. You meet a lot of people. I get a lot of work done on trains. So there's a host of things we can do. And it's very important that we do these things as well, I think, because it sends a strong message to our local politicians and our national politicians that we are doing something and we want them to do more to move us away from our dependence on fossil fuels towards a low-carbon economy.
Now, one of the things that Rosie Plummer, who runs the gardens here, was saying today is we should be growing our own fruit and our own vegetables. Lord knows, we're all busy people. Is it really reasonable to ask busy people to grow their own food when, frankly, you and I and anybody else can go to the supermarket and just pick up a pound or a kilo of potatoes or whatever, rather than slaving over a patch in the garden when perhaps we've got responsibilities at work or family to deal with instead?
No, we can't all become gardeners, obviously, but what we can do is be very selective in what we purchase. We can buy organic products, fair trade produce, and we can shop in a way that we select environmentally friendly goods and we spend less money on environmentally harmful goods.
Gordon, thank you very much indeed. Gordon James from Friends of the Earth here in Wales. As I say, the Prince of Wales Great Big Green Tour, as I've now decided it's called, will begin next month, starting, as we say, in Scotland, but taking in the whole of the UK, and I'm sure we'll be following much of that visit here on BBC News. But from now, here in the Botanic Gardens of Wales in Carmarthenshire, back to you in the studio.
Colette Hume with that report. Two pieces of breaking news to bring you ahead of the 1 o'clock news. A British soldier shot dead in southern Afghanistan on Friday has been named by the Ministry of Defence today as Sapper Ishwar Goring from 6th Gurkha Field Squadron 2-1 Engineer Regiment Group. So that just out from the Ministry of Defence. And another piece of breaking news. A senior source close to Tony Blair has confirmed that profits and royalties from his book will go to the Royal British Legion to fund an injured soldiers' sports centre. More on that to come, but first the weather with Tomasz Schafaernaker.
Well, a number of us this morning were greeted with some pleasant sunshine, and that's how it's going to stay for most of us this afternoon. At the very least, the majority of the country will have bright weather, quite breezy too, but there is some rain around as well. And you can see across to the west of the UK this area of weather, this weather front here, rain-bearing clouds sweeping in from the west, and that's where we're going to see the rain today. It's across Northern Ireland mainly, whereas ahead of that we've got that window of fairly decent weather across the majority of Great Britain. However, eastern areas may just about get a little bit of rain later on through the afternoon. Let's start with the east first of all. So the majority of northern England, fine weather with some sunshine, temperatures into the low 20s. Thicker cloud and little bits and pieces of rain will continue to flirt with the very far southeast of England and also East Anglia. But for the rest of the country across the south, it's a fine afternoon with decent spells of sunshine, temperatures getting up to around about the low, perhaps even the mid-20s, but there is also a bit of a breeze out there. Fine weather across most of Wales, and then across the sea we head into Northern Ireland, and here it is a very different picture. So this is where the weather front is, a bit of a breeze, temperatures in the upper teens, so not a pretty picture for most of us in Northern Ireland. And the same goes for the Western Isles of Scotland, but for most of eastern Scotland the weather should be fine. And as you can imagine, this weather front will make its journey towards the east, but it shouldn't reach Manchester for that match. So Manchester United versus Newcastle, the kick-off at 8 p.m, still should be dry at that stage, around 18 degrees. It's later on in the night when the weather front will sweep across the UK, so it'll turn damp, if not wet in some areas. The heavier rain will probably be across the more northern parts of the UK. Further southwards, it'll be a little bit more drizzly this coming night. And that's how we start off tomorrow. Starts off grey, unpleasant, dribs and drabs of rain pretty much everywhere, but then in the afternoon you'll notice we say goodbye to the rain out. It goes into the North Sea and we're left with some sunshine, and temperatures tomorrow probably averaging around about 19 degrees. So that was Tuesday. How about Wednesday? The best of the weather will be across more eastern areas of the country, whereas further westwards we'll have some showers and also a noticeable breeze. Now here's the summary for the week. It'll be a changeable one. There'll be some rain but also some sunshine, so you'll probably need your umbrellas at least from time to time.
Talks are underway to try to avert a strike which would close 6 British airports at the end of the summer holidays. Firefighters, engineers and security staff at Heathrow are among those who'll walk out if the pay dispute isn't resolved. Scrapping mixed-sex accommodation in England's hospitals, the government pledges to end the practice. The world's response to Pakistan's floods is woefully inadequate, according to a British government minister. A major shake-up of the way children are taught in Scottish schools as a new curriculum is launched. And Magic Murray, Britain's #1, beats Federer in straight sets to win the Toronto Masters.
And later in sport, a new major winner at the US PGA. Martin Kaymer holds off American Bubba Watson after a 3-hole playoff at Whistling Straits.
Good afternoon and welcome to the BBC's News at 1. Talks are going on this lunchtime to try to avert a strike by thousands of firefighters, security staff and engineers at 6 BAA airports. The dispute is over pay. If the talks between BAA and the Unite Union fail, Heathrow, Stansted, Southampton, Glasgow, Edinburgh and Aberdeen airports would all be forced to close during a strike, causing chaos at the end of the summer holidays. Our transport correspondent Richard Scott reports.
It would be almost as bad as volcanic ash. A strike at BAA's airports would ground holidaymakers across the UK. More than 6,000 staff at the airport operator will walk out if talks aren't successful. Crucially, these employees include security staff and firefighters, who are next to impossible to replace. So BAA's 6 airports would be shut down. The union has to give 7 days' notice of any strike, so could easily target the bank holiday weekend.
It's really, really important, I think, for the union to get as much leverage as they can in order to force the company to then up its offer. And so picking August bank holiday or Christmas or Easter when there's peak travel really isn't a coincidence.
So why is this happening? Well, last year staff accepted a pay freeze, and this year they've been offered a pay rise of 1%. Another 0.5% is on offer if they accept changes to sick pay, but bonuses have been withdrawn. BAA is the dominant force among the UK's airports, running Heathrow, Stansted, Southampton, Edinburgh, Glasgow and Aberdeen. In total, those airports deal with nearly 300,000 passengers each day. BAA argues its pay offer is fair, saying it's still dealing with the impact of recession and that volcanic ash cloud. Having its airports shut down would be something of a disaster for BAA, so there's a good chance the talks will bear fruit.
BAA have been here before. They've seen disputes over previous summers, and at the 11th hour, they've usually settled. They do have money up their sleeves. They do have the ability to go back to the union and say, yes, we will agree to more money with some conditions. I think that's very likely this time round.
Whilst the talks go on, though, it'll be an anxious wait for holidaymakers. The end of the school holidays and that bank holiday weekend are both under threat. Richard Scott, BBC News.
Our correspondent Andy Moore is at the conciliation service ACAS, where the talks between BAA and Unite are taking place. So how likely is it that they'll be able to resolve this?
Well, talks started here about an hour ago, face-to-face talks. Both sides are saying there is a prospect of an agreement. BAA said they wanted to reach an agreement very quickly. The union Unite said they were fairly optimistic that the solution could be reached. There's not too much between the two sides at